At 17, she became the voice of a generation. At the exact same time, she was quietly losing the will to stay alive. This is not a story about fame. This is a story about survival. About a girl whose body wouldn't listen to her, whose mind wouldn't leave her alone, and whose world got louder the more broken she felt inside. They called her a prodigy. They called her an icon. But behind the music, there was something else. A glitch. Not the kind you fix, the kind you live with forever. And there was one decision, one moment that may have saved her life. We'll come back to that, but first, you need to understand the system she was trapped in. The pressure of expectation, being a product, the industry machine, the weight of the crown. Before we see the light, you need to see the dark. Before the fame, before the Grammys, there was a kid trying to sit still and failing. Billie Eilish grew up with Tourette Syndrome, not the version you see in movies. Not loud, not obvious, but constant. Small movements, sudden impulses. A body that moves, even when you beg it not to. She once described it like an itch, but not on your skin. Inside your nervous system. And no matter how hard you try, you can't scratch it. Most people didn't notice. But she did, every second. Imagine being aware that your own body might betray you in front of anyone, at any time. That kind of tension doesn't just stay physical. It creeps into your identity. And slowly, it teaches you one dangerous idea. I am not in control. Then came something even more invasive, the mirror. As she grew older, her relationship with her body changed, not just discomfort, distortion. She didn't see herself the way others did. She saw flaws, magnified, relentless. This wasn't vanity. This was psychological warfare. She later opened up about struggling with body dysmorphia. And when the world started watching her, it got worse. Because now, it wasn't just her judging her body, it was everyone. So she made a decision, not for style, for survival. She disappeared behind oversized clothes, behind layers, behind a silhouette that revealed nothing. People called it a fashion statement, but it wasn't. It was armor. But here's the irony of the spotlight. The more you try to hide, the harder people try to look. By trying to protect herself with baggy clothes, she accidentally created a mystery that the internet was desperate to solve. Her armor didn't stop the war, it just changed the battlefield. Then everything changed, fast. Her music exploded. Her voice spread across the world, and suddenly, she wasn't just a teenager anymore. She was a global phenomenon. But fame, in the digital age, is not admiration. It's exposure. Millions of people, millions of opinions, analyzed, judged, attacked. It reached a peak in 2020. A single paparazzi photo of her in a tank top, just like a normal teenager in normal clothes, went viral for all the wrong reasons. The internet didn't see a human. They saw a target. The comments weren't just opinions. They were a collective autopsy of an 18-year-old's self-worth. She did what most people would do. She read the comments, all of them, looking for validation, proof that she was enough. But she found a digital slaughterhouse instead. She wasn't reading opinions anymore. She was absorbing poison, daily and slowly. It was changing her. Remember that decision? The one that may have saved her life. This was it. She stopped. She didn't just log out. She deleted the entire digital world from her device. In an era where staying relevant is the only currency, she chose to become invisible, not for attention, not for a break, but for survival, because she realized something most people never do. Not everything deserves your attention, especially not things designed to destroy you. The world kept screaming, but for the first time in years, the room was quiet. And in that silence, she could finally hear the one voice that actually mattered, her own. But the damage was already there. During her tours, in hotel rooms across Europe, the pressure finally caught up. This is the part people don't like to talk about, because it doesn't fit the narrative of success. She was at the top of the world, and still, she wasn't okay. She later admitted, there were nights she didn't trust herself to be alone. Think about that. Surrounded by millions of fans and still feeling completely isolated. She felt like a product, a version of herself built for consumption, while the real person was fading, quietly, painfully. This is the hidden cost of becoming someone everyone knows. Before you fully know yourself, so how do you come back from that? Not with a miracle, but with work. Slow, uncomfortable, consistent work. Through therapy. Through learning how to sit with her thoughts. Instead of being controlled by them, she began to understand something powerful. You are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. And that changes everything. The anxiety didn't disappear. The bad days didn't vanish. The glitch didn't get fixed, but it transformed from something that controlled her into something she could live with. So what can we learn from this? Not the fame, but the survival. First, vulnerability isn't weakness, it's control. The moment you speak your truth, you take power away from those who try to define you. Second, boundaries are not selfish, they are necessary. Protecting your mind isn't running away, it's choosing what deserves access to you. And third, healing is not an ending, it's a practice. The world saw a star, but what they didn't see was the fight it took to stay alive long enough to become one. Maybe that's the real story. Not the success, but the survival behind it. Because sometimes, winning doesn't look like standing on a stage. Sometimes, winning looks like staying.